Hi, my name is Roni Capin Rivera-Ashford, and I am an author. I grew up on the border of Arizona and Mexico. It's called Nogales, Ambos Nogales, Arizona and Sonora. I grew up there speaking and learning to read and write in both English and Spanish since I was a newborn. So I grew up completely bilingual, bicultural, and then I loved Spanish so much that aside from just taking English in school, I took Spanish in school as well. So by the end of my schooling career, I wound up also getting my degree in Spanish. And then I got my teaching certification on the side. So I became an elementary school teacher, and I taught bilingual classes, bilingual first grade, bilingual kindergarten. Then I had a bilingual preschool, and that was in Nogales, and fell in love with my bilingual bicultural husband in Nogales. And it's one of those, the forbidden fruit love story. And I was sent away to complete my high school, the last 3 years of my high school career, to California, so that I would not have the accessibility to see him or date him during those years. And that was back in the late 60s, early 70s.
Mom and Dad didn't approve.
Right, right. The way my dad was raised with a certain thought process, and he followed what he had learned, what he had been taught, and he didn't know any better at that time. So I see it as my dad was a good teacher for me to learn to become independent and be true to myself, and I was a good teacher for my dad because eventually later in life he did come around and not only accept me and my children, but learn to not only accept but respect and love my husband. This is us. and I do believe that we don't need to have labels. We don't need to even label that we're different cultures. We're really one species. We are the oneness. We are all human beings, and we all have a heart that beats and a heart that feels, and a mind that thinks, and a mind that's creative. And if we can share those things, then that's really what it's all about. The love of writing for me started actually when I was sent to California. And I don't know if at that time I could say it was a love. It was a tool, and it was really a life jacket for me. I would wake up at 2 in the morning because I was so lonely and yearning to be home, and I was angry that I was someplace I didn't want to be. And rather than do other things, like at that time I was living at the school, it would have been very easy for me to begin to indulge in drinking alcohol or smoking pot. That was available then, and I didn't choose that. And what I would do is I would wake up in a panic, and I would write, and I would write love poems to my boyfriend, and sometimes in English, sometimes in Spanish. A veces me nacía en español. Sometimes it just came to me in Spanish. So I would find that when I was done writing, I felt very relaxed, and I was able to go back to sleep.
Writing was an escape for you?
So it was an escape, and today I see it as a remedy. It was a natural healing remedy for me.
When was that about? Were you 14, 15, 16?
15, 16, 17.
Wow.
And so I didn't realize that it was doing that for me at that time. Now, of course, 2020 being, having perfect hindsight, I do realize. And what's coincidental, or I like to call it synchronistic, or a synchronicity is that my very first book that I got published, which was a story I wrote when I was a bilingual reading teacher, and I felt that my students needed to have stories that were real, that were about them, that they could relate to, because they were struggling with learning how to read. So I wrote my Los Remedios de mi Nana first in Spanish. That's how it came to me, and then I adapted it into English, My Nana's Remedies. So here we are talking about a remedy. That's the story that I wrote to teach my students how to read, and writing was a remedy for me to heal when I was in panic mode when I was a teenager.
So in a sense, though you didn't like being sent away, it did play a role in the origins, your origins of your writing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so
Funny how that worked out.
Right. I see that today, that many times what we think is a problem situation or a challenge in our life or a stumbling block, if we pursue it the best we can, put one foot in front of the other, take it one day at a time, and move forward as best we can, then we can look back and have no regrets, and often realize that that was really a gift.
Blessings.
That something blossoms out of it. Yes, it's a blessing in disguise. Or, as we say in Spanish, no hay mal que por bien no venga, which is every cloud has a silver lining.